I'm still kind of a rookie, but this is my favorite thing the whole year is to go out and do. We spent a whole day judging the 10 finalists, traveling not the full length and width of Brooklyn, but close to it from the north to south, and unbelievable. There's no. Let's just say this. This should not just be the greenest block of Brooklyn. It's the greenest block in New York City, period, because no borough touches this. So the amazing creativity, because this doesn't happen by accident. This is neighbors coming out and working their behinds off to make a great, beautiful block, and we couldn't be prouder than to be associated with the people who do stuff like this.
We're humbled, and we're going to continue mentoring other blocks. It means a lot to us because an organization such as Brooklyn Botanic Garden, when they give us a nod, it tells us that we're in the right path to environmental justice. We were out last night until 11 p.m. Watering. So it is a lot of work, but we love it. It definitely brings the community together. We try to be intergenerational. So from the children to our elderly, it bridges the community.
I think it means a lot to them because they feel good about where they live. And, I have found that people really crave beauty, especially when you live in a city and you live in an apartment. So the beauty is found outdoors, and they've turned their own block into a garden, and it's extraordinary. This beats anything in the whole city of New York. Obviously, it makes the value of the block better. Like every home is worth more because of what they've done here and how they've taken care of the trees. Taking care of the trees is particularly important. Dealing with climate change, we need the shade, we need the cooling. So I'm looking at this block and saying they've really taken care of the trees, and they need some more trees. So we're going to try to help them with that too.
Every day they pass by walking their dogs, admiring the gardens. We talk to them, they ask us questions, we share plans with them, and it's a joy gardening on the block.
Do you think they're a little jealous?
I think so. Who wouldn't be?
It's a multiple way partnership because we can judge and we can encourage, and we have outreach coordinators who can help. 4 people live on this block are graduates of the Brooklyn Urban Gardener program. They're known as bugs. So they've learned a lot about plants and plant science and the healing properties of plants and the cooling properties. So it really shows here. And by the way, this is one of 120 blocks we looked at, and the others in the top 10 are fantastic too. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, good morning everybody. Welcome to the Greenest Block in Brooklyn contest. I am Adrian Benepe. It is my honor and privilege to serve as president of Brooklyn Botanic Garden. Thank you all for being here, especially for the East 25th Street block, which is right here behind me. In a second, I'm going to reveal the winner of the contest. We haven't revealed the winner of the contest, but in a second I will. So many of you here are from other blocks because you've been involved with the Greenest Block in Brooklyn contest for many years. And for those of you who are new to this event, let me tell you just a bit more about it. It's about excellence in streetscape gardening, of course, and you can see so many examples of this all around you. It is also about, and probably mostly about, joining neighbors together with neighbors in a common goal. And that common goal is to beautify their blocks while also building connections, and this is becoming more and more important, community resilience. So this year we had almost 120 blocks enter the contest from all over Brooklyn. Up in Williamsburg, where this gentleman is from.
Yes, my block was.
His block.
Wasn't green.
North Brooklyn, Fort Hamilton to the south, and Canarsie to the east. So this is really a borough-wide celebration of the power of gardening to bring people together. So this year, we've been celebrating at Brooklyn Botanic Garden something we call Power of Trees. And you guys know, Max and Sam know, trees have superpowers. You know that, right? They're so super that one of the trees here is named Max and the other is named Sam. And every tree here is named for a kid on the block.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. So good. And, the power of trees, we celebrate the trees that grow everywhere that do so much for us, our community greening programs like this contest. And taking care of the trees has always been a key criteria in judging the Greenest Block entries. But this year, we really asked the gardeners to consider street trees and their place in the urban ecosystem when greening their blocks. So, I don't need to tell you, we had record high temperatures in June, and then again in July. The hottest temperatures and the hottest summer on record on the planet Earth. That's kind of scary. And so you can, when you're scared, you can do two things. You can run, or you can stay and fight. So you actually can't run away from global climate change. You really can't. So we have no choice but to stay and fight. And trees are not just the nice things. It's not just a nice to have, it's a must have, because they are essential in the fight against climate change, right? City trees do so much for us, they don't have it easy. And you know, the main thing they do is, the two main things they do that are so important for us, they capture our pollution, the carbon, and they absorb it and they store it until they die. And they cool. We've learned so much about the cooling power of trees. Like, we're standing in the hot sun right now, but if we were in the shade of a tree, it would be about 10 degrees cooler. And that's the difference when you have a block full of trees. The Greenest Block participants learned about the ways we people can take care of the trees. I used to have a boss who had a very funny thing he said about trees. We have to take care of the trees because they're stuck where they are. They can't run away, right? So when a threat comes to a tree, we have to protect them. And you can tell that this block has been protecting the trees. So you can mulch, you can compost, you can water, especially those new street trees. You got to give them a lot of water in the summer. So you can look at this block and you can tell people care for the trees. So again, shh, I'll be announcing the winner in just a second. But the secret is now, well, you know, the secret is now out. The block we are standing on, beautiful East 25th Street between Avenue D and Clarendon Road, is our 2023 Greenest Block in Brooklyn Presidential Award winner. So I'm just going to say this. This is kind of like cheering for the Yankees because they won first place in 2016, 2011, 2006, and 2004. So this is a championship team. They know how to play ball. I think you're in the market for a new relief pitcher now? Yeah. Or a couple, a lot more than that. But I think the relief pitchers are right here in this block. So the residents block are beacons of knowledge. You know what a beacon is? It's like a, we do, okay. It's like a lighthouse, right? Okay, they're beacons of knowledge for not only our block, but also serving the greening community as a whole in Brooklyn. The gardeners of East 25th Street served as keynote speakers at our 2019 Making Brooklyn Bloom conference, and they won the 2018 Greenest Block in Brooklyn Mentor Award for their help. They help, they don't just say, we just want to win, we want to help everybody win. So last year, they placed second. This block placed second. So they didn't say, oh, that's not fair. They said, we're going to work harder. And a whole bunch of things happened. Their determination, they said, we will accept nothing less than being the best. And they wanted to achieve number one, and they are. They are number one again this year. You can see in everything, all the front yards, all they've done for trees and the education about the powers of trees. You can see the signs on each corner that tell you about these trees' secret powers. And you'll find informative signs extolling the benefits of pollinators and trees along the block. They've made wonderful use of, this is like very high-tech stuff. They have QR codes that can be scanned so you can learn more about the trees. I don't even know how to do a QR code. And they have block cleanup days. They assist with workshops at Brooklyn Botanic Garden. They've been incredible in building community media game. They've got their own website and Facebook and Instagram. Yes, I found you. Now, this block, we're about 3 miles due east from the Greenest Commercial Block, which is Rockaway Parkway between Conklin and Flatlands, entered by the Rockaway Parkway Merchant Association. They got top place in the commercial category in part because of trees. Big hand. For it. So they only have 4 trees there because it's hard to keep trees growing in commercial strips, mainly because the trucks knock into them, right? They knock the branches off. That's not good for the trees. So they are those trees are very special. Leaders in that neighborhood advocated for planting the trees in 2019 and 2021. Hear that? So they asked the community members for the Ribbon of Remembrance activity to write a memory for 2020 and 2021. So, community greening programs like the Greenest Block contest, along with the Brooklyn Urban Gardener Volunteer Training Program, and I will say, we have a lot of training programs. One is called Brooklyn Urban Gardener, and the initials are BUG. Max, Sam, what does BUG spell? Bug, yes. So the people who participate in this program are known as bugs. And that's not an insult. They proudly say, I'm a bug. There were 4 bugs on this block.
Okay.
4 graduates. So that kind of shows, that's amazing. There's no block in Brooklyn, I think, that has 4 bugs in it. Some blocks have a lot more bugs, like spotted lanternflies, goose. But they know so much about planting and community greeting and environmental stewardship. So none of this, my point is, none of this happens by accident. Every plant here took a lot of work. Every tree bed took a lot of work. Every front yard took a lot of work. The caring for the street trees, thousands and thousands of hours of work from this block. It's not an accident that this is the, and by the way, Mr. Borough President, may I say, we call it the Greenest Block in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
but you can say Greenest Block in New York City.
I believe it.
Because I've been in the 5 boroughs. There's nothing like what you
believe
do
it
in Brooklyn.
100%.
No, seriously, I'm not, this is not an exaggeration. I can actually say Brooklyn rocks when it comes to green blocks. You know, those fancy West Village and Upper East Side townhouse blocks, nothing like this.
Nah.
They don't, no. They don't hold a candle
They're
to
gonna wanna
it.
come back over here.
He says, don't tell them they're gonna wanna come back over here. Well, I wouldn't blame them if it did, because this is much more beautiful than anything you find in Manhattan. So we get them making Brooklyn bloom, we come out. So, you know, we are a garden, we've got a fence around us so the trees don't walk away. But we work very extensively outside of the garden, outside of the gates, and that's really what separates Brooklyn Botanic Garden from all the botanical gardens in the world. We are very much with, of, and from our community. We're not an island in the community, we are part of the community. So, just quickly, the community greening programs are made possible by a small but powerful team from BBG. First, Sonal Bhatt, Brooklyn Vice President, BBG Vice President for Education. Jabril Cooper, everybody, he's right here. He's got that very nice shirt on. He's our community program manager. Nina Brown over here. Everybody, community field manager. All I have to do is say Nina, and the biggest applause of the day happens. So, you know, Ed Kira Luzun, who's our community outreach assistant, and then all, you know, the many other Brooklyn Botanic Garden staff, you know, all the people who have to do the press and the PR and the website and stuff like that. So I only plan to speak for another half hour. No, just kidding. It's now my really great pleasure, and I do mean it's a great pleasure. I've had the pleasure of knowing this borough president since before he was borough president. And I can say this, and I've worked with a lot of Brooklyn borough presidents. I was the Parks Commissioner for 11 years. And it's fair to say that he's one of the finest borough presidents Brooklyn has ever had, without demeaning anybody else. But for sure, he's the fittest borough president. There's no question, because he bikes all over the place. And the only piece of advice I have for him, which I've said before, I'll say it again, please wear a helmet.
Yeah, I'm working.
It's not because you're dangerous, it's because everybody else is dangerous out there. So he's working on it. You've only got one head.
I know.
So it's a great pleasure. I seriously, I worked over the years with many elected officials, and many talk the talk, but then you have to figure out who can walk the walk, who's going to find the funding for things, who's going to go out, make the extra mile to advocate for things, to use the bully pulpit of the borough president's office, to spread the funding around. And Antonio Reynoso is a remarkable public servant. And it's not easy. Public service these days gets denigrated by people who don't know better. And they're not paid a lot, and they have to work really hard. And every night when you're home watching, you know, the show, they're out at a civic meeting, or 6 civic meetings the same night. So we should never take for granted the honest and hardworking public servants who make things work. So it's my pleasure to introduce an honest and hardworking and very fun, lively Brooklyn Borough President, Antonio Reynoso.
Thank you so much, Adrian. All right, Brooklyn, let's give it up for Adrian. And thank you for those kind words. They mean a lot. Thank you so much. And I just want to say, well, my name is Antonio Reynoso, and I'm the president of the greatest borough in the city of New York, which is Brooklyn, first and foremost. And now I can say I'm the president of the Greenest Block in the entire city of New York, which is right here on 25th Street. Congratulations to you all. I was talking to Senator Parker, and I was telling him he has like the greenest district in all of Brooklyn, so congratulations to you for that one. But I just want to know, how many weeds did Senator Parker pull to help out here? Like, that's the work we want to see. But just want to say, in a time when it is the hottest time of our history here when it comes to climate change and the little that we see folks doing around the world to try to change that. And it's the difference of folks, everyday people, doing the work that we see here today and making their block greener and contributing to the greater good. That's what really is going to make the difference. It isn't going to be large corporations. It isn't going to be federal Congress people passing laws. It isn't going to be the folks that have the big buildings that pollute or the folks driving the cars. The difference is going to be you, the individual, getting up, making sure your tree's okay, taking care of it, weeding, not just mulching over everything, allowing for some grass to grow, like really paying attention to the little things. And if everyone in Brooklyn contributes a little bit of their time, the difference we can make is astounding. It would be incomparable to anything that corporations or laws can do. It's the individuals. I wasn't pulling the weeds, you were. And they were teaching me how well they do it because they pull it from the roots. But this is the difference. We're raising a generation of folks that get it. So once the older generation gets out of the way and allows for people that believe in climate change, that understand that climate change is real and that we need to do something about it, we're gonna be in good hands. They're gonna save the planet for themselves because we can't seem to do it for them. And I'm extremely grateful for that work that you guys are already doing. Yes, a round of applause for them. The Botanic Gardens, of course, the greenest place in Brooklyn. Thank you so much for everything that they do. Please go and visit. They're constantly upgrading and changing what they're doing in the gardens to make sure that they're respective of Brooklyn. Brooklyn always comes first. You can go. They made sorrel from plants that they actually grew in the Botanic Gardens. That only happens in Brooklyn. You can't have that anywhere else. And that's the type of work we want to continue to see. I want to thank National Grid, who's always showing up for this work. This doesn't come easy, and we want to encourage you to do it, and sometimes we need a little bit of an incentive, and having folks like National Grid on board allows us to push these programs and make sure that we're doing right. You know, National Grid is doing this work, right, to try to better these blocks and allow us to do this. Again, National Grid is not going to do it with the changes they make internally, even though they can help. They're going to make a difference by encouraging us, everyday people, to show up and do the work, and that's important. So again, I just want to thank them for that great work. And then, of course, to the 25th Street between Avenue D and Clarendon Road in Flatbush. I want to be specific because it's not all of 25th Street. It's this block. Give yourselves a round of applause. We have the Crown Heights Keepers who are in second place. I want to give them a round of applause. Look at them. And there is a tie between third place with Stuyvesant Avenue Block Association in Bed-Stuy and 200 Decatur Street of Stuyvesant in the Stuyvesant Avenue Block Association in Bed-Stuy. And now, you know, these folks are like the Yankees. They are. They win every year, and the only reason they can't win every year is because technically you can't win every year, which I think is a good plan. We might have to do like 5 years or something because they win every other year. But I just appreciate your effort, staying committed to this. And this year's was the power of trees. And I just want to give one statistic. We're doing comprehensive planning in the city of New York. In Brooklyn. The city of New York doesn't have comprehensive planning. We don't think, we build without thinking. But I think we should be planning. So we have a comprehensive plan that we should be unveiling in a couple of months. But in it, it shows two statistics that I'm going to talk to you about two different places. In Brownsville, Brooklyn, people die 20 years younger than they do in Borough Park. 20 years younger. That's a sad statistic. And it's a health outcome issue. Another statistic is that on certain days, it is 10 degrees hotter in Brownsville than it is in Park Slope. So think about that. When it's 90 degrees in Park Slope and they're struggling there, it's closer to 100 in Brownsville. That heat index and that heat vulnerability contribute to their life expectancy. And now they die younger. And that is what the power of trees is about. Not only can we solve for the heat vulnerability issue by planting more trees, we can start dealing with health outcomes that allow for Brownsvilleites, our own Brooklynites, to live longer, not 20 years younger. So that's the work we're doing with comprehensive planning, and of course, the trees are a part of it. They're a great power of trees, can help the lives of Brownsville and all of Brooklyn. So thank you so much, and I'll leave you with the words of the great Christopher Wallace, Biggie Smalls of the Notorious B.I.G., who said, "Spread love is the Brooklyn way." Thank you so much.
It's so, it's been a sea change, I think, and to hear elected officials be able to speak so fluently about health outcomes and the social outcomes of health and what we can do about it, the practical things we can do. And one of the cheapest things we can do, the least expensive, to combat climate change and make healthy neighborhoods, it's very simple, it's plant trees. That's way less expensive than anything else we can do. It's now my pleasure, we've been joined by the state senator representing the Greenest District in Brooklyn,
Exactly.
Kevin Parker.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm State Senator Kevin Parker. I represent the 21st District in Brooklyn, which is Flatbush and East Flatbush, Midwood, Ditmas Park, Canarsie, Flatlands, Mill Basin, Bergen Beach, and Marine Park. I am the majority whip in the New York State Senate, but also the chairman of the Energy and Telecommunications Committee. And as such, let me add my voice to the things that we heard our borough president discussing as it relates to climate change. That has been a big fight. Obviously, we're fighting in Albany as well, having been the person who negotiated the CLCPA, the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, as well as the author of two big things that we passed this year, the Build Public Renewables Act that gets NYPA involved in building sustainable energy in the state, as well as the person who authored our, cap and what's called Cap and Invest, which we initially talked about as CCIA, the Climate and Community Investment Act, which creates a economic disincentive to create carbon and methane in our communities across the state. And as we heard the borough president talk about his study, which I certainly am excited about seeing, it reminds me of a law that I made last year, which is a heat mapping law, right? And so we actually passed a law that's going to do heat mapping across the state of New York, because what we are finding with some smaller studies is that there are communities, most of them are poor communities, most of them are Black and Latino communities, where, again, as you heard the borough president indicate, are much higher temperatures, and again, coming out of a summer in which it's been the hottest summer on record. That's been an important thing that we need to kind of pay attention to and at least understand where those effects are. And I also have a last bill. It was not my last bill, but I have another bill that actually is a tree planting bill that would incentivize tree planting, not just in the city of New York, but across the state of New York. Although we have a lot of greenlands upstate, there are a lot of pockets of urban areas in which we could do a lot better, and this bill would actually help us get there. And so really excited about the work and having people here on the ground. And so as we do big policy things, the things that are happening in communities, as you're hearing from Commissioner Benepe and others, are as important. They all add to the greater piece. As we start talking about the CLCPA, I always remind people that 20% of the entire plan for the CLCPA is going to be what we call demand response, right? Demand response is simply understanding when we use electricity and using it at the right times. Those of us who grew up in the 70s remember that education. We saw long lines at gas stations and such. That was before your time.
I know.
But that education needs to come back so people understand when to use electricity. And that's about 10% of the plan. The other 10% of the plan is going to be retrofitting our buildings. This is a young crowd, but New York is an old state with old buildings, and they need to be retrofitted. Most buildings in the state of New York have the equivalent of an open window. Let me say this, residential homes in New York State have the equivalent of an open window when you look at all the cracks and crevices in which air is moving. And so that's going to be a big part of what we do as well. And certainly, as you've heard today, growing trees, growing plants, and greenscaping our city is going to be a big part of that. And so let me just congratulate the Greenest Block in Brooklyn. Let's give them a big round of applause again. Very proud to represent this community and see the work that they do, and to be supportive of, from afar. Antonio's shook my hand many times. He knows how soft they are. These are not weed pulling hands.
No, they're not. We're glad you're a politician. We're glad you're a politician.
I'll water stuff for a little while, though. A little while, I can't, but I'm just very proud of the work that they're doing. And congratulations to all the winners. And thank you for all your contributions. Because these then become exemplars for what we see on other blocks. And so you see around here other blocks, trying to mimic what they see on East 25th Street between Avenue D and Clarendon. And hopefully this movement becomes viral, not just in this community, but across our borough and across our city. And so I want to congratulate you, want to thank the Great National Grid, and of course, the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens, which up until recently was in my district. But they really do good work, and they really are in our communities every single day, helping us not just grow things, but also learn things like composting, right? Which is, again, going to be a big part of how we move forward in this new normal. And so I want to thank you all for being here. Again, anything that I can do, I'm not here just for the announcement, but as a outreached hand to lend myself to the work that this block is doing, what the Botanical Garden is doing, and what all other people in Brooklyn are doing around greening our blocks. But I'm not pulling no weeds. Thank you very much, and we look forward to working together.
Thank you, Senator. And truthfully, his work in Albany is very important. That tree planting bill, that's a very important bill. But they also, what he could have bragged a bit more. They recently passed with the governor the most important green bond in many years, providing hundreds of millions of dollars for greening communities. So that's very important. Speaking of gratuitous forms of pollution, there are 2 bills in the Senate and the City Council to curtail the private helicopters flying over New York. So look that up and going to stop the chop. There is. Senator Hoylman has a bill.
Yes, a real thing.
And Councilman Ressler has a bill in the City Council, 551. So look those up. That's all I'm going to say. But I will say this. The legislature is very important because they're statewide, and there's a lot of money that we sent to Albany that we'd like to bring back. And the people who bring back the money to this community are the state senators and the assembly members, who we're very lucky to have with us. Assemblymember Monique Chandler-Waterman.
Thank you so much. It is amazing to be out here. I've been on this block so many times. Before I was elected, with the youth, helping with the block parties, helping with whatever we can, especially when Dr. Reynoso say, we got to be here and we got to do this. So I want to just congratulate y'all for the hard work. This is an example of how do we contribute to the community? How do we contribute to making sure we're environmentally friendly? How do we beautify our blocks? Because what you see is how you're treated. And this is definitely, when you talk about collaborating and unity, this is what brings blocks together. This is what brings us together. Coming out and doing something for a common cause that we could sit back and look at. And sometimes we in Brooklyn, and we don't have those sceneries as much as we need to have it. When we talk about quality of life, there's so many different ways quality of life can be taken. When we talk about reducing gun violence, there's so many things that can contribute. And it's a multi-layered issue that requires a multifaceted approach. So what you're doing here, we're organizing a block and showing the beauty of Brooklyn. I know the borough president's like, I'm proud. Because what it makes is like, this is an epitome of, this is not an I thing, this is a we thing. We're elected, but what does it look like when a community comes together and say, you know what, I'm gonna demand what I want in my community. I'm gonna tell people and show them. I'm not gonna just tell them, I'm gonna show them. So the models that you see when you look at this block is a model of what Brooklyn can look like holistically. So I'm just so proud every time I come to this block, even though this is not my district, this is my colleague, Assemblywoman Ranice Bashat, Hermelin district. But you know what? Once we talk about it's not an I thing, it's a we thing, me and my colleagues to talk about legislation, everything we need to do to bolster what you're doing. But when you come and do things like this, and we bring the youth and show them, we are saying not only are we considering our environment, we're considering the quality of life, what we want it to look like, and if we could get more blocks to be like this, or even come with their own spin on what it could look like, because every block have a different character, that is how we reduce gun violence. That is how we have a better quality of life. That is how we teach people how to treat us. That's how we can say we don't have to move somewhere else to be in a better community. We stay in our community, and we build up our community. And number one, you are number one in our heart. You're number one when it comes to God. And number one is not only just in the action of trying to get an award. It's being number one when no one is looking. The character, I don't even think y'all was thinking about, am I gonna win a competition? It's about what do my community needs and what makes us happy and what we can. But it didn't start out with a competition. It started out with just organizing. But then you knew, y'all over understood the assignment. Y'all don't leave nothing on the table for nobody else. And that's how it is. So this is some good competition. And number one, I'm like, isn't it number one every year? Didn't y'all? The most winningest block? That's a word I heard? And thank you, Botanical Garden. Thank you for the Borough President. Thank you to my colleague here, the Senator. And thank you for all of you. And thank you for the media to come out when we're doing great things in Brooklyn. Because there's a lot of great things happening in Brooklyn. And we need you to be out to edify that, because there's some good things happening. And East 25th Street Block Association is bringing it home. So I just want to say thank you for all the contribution, your hard work, being the pillars of the community, being the model examples, teaching our kids, and continue what you're doing. And just thank you. This is not an I thing, this is a we thing. And I will say, I promise I won't be perfect. I think a lot of electeds would say that. But we promise we can do the best I can. And doing it with all of you is the greatest satisfaction of holding a seat like this as the first Black woman to represent District 58, New York State Assembly Member Monique Chandler Waterman. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember. So now it's a chance to hear from the Greenest Block. Would we like to hear from the Greenest Block? So I'm delighted. I think I have here. Let's see. There it is. Okay. Look at this. There it is. It's now my pleasure to introduce Carol Renaud of the 300 East 25th Street Block Association to come up and receive this award.
Thank you, Adrian.
Okay, we'll do a photo when you're done talking.
Yes, thank you. Pauline, come as well. Yes, Pauline, come right here.
You guys in this window. There you go. There you go. Big smile.
Hold this for us. You're the next generation.
Oh, yes.
Hold it. Thank you.
Say trees. Trees.
I'm Carol Renaud, the co-chair of our garden club on East 25th Street. Pauline Green is here with me, and we have some of our other members who are in Jamaica doing mission work. But it's a community. We don't take this lightly. Everyone that you see standing here played an integral role in where we are. And I want to say good morning again and welcome to our community. I just want to take a moment of silence for all of our neighbors that we've lost in the last couple of years. Thank you. They've planted trees and we're literally enjoying the work that they did with the respite and shade that we can get from these trees. My students agreed to give me the day off today. They knew that I would be attending an extremely important greening event. And I say greening because I sit in a science classroom with students who are looking for answers. They're exploring, they're questioning, they want to be a part of a brighter future. And part of that brightness is greening. And I'm just going to read some of this because I want to get it right. This greening that I speak about is important to us on East 25th Street, not only for the aesthetic benefits and practical reasons, but because it is a driving force as a community builder. We've shared many interactions, conversations, and exchanged ideas through greening. I can check up on my neighbors, I can check up on family and friends, whether we're planting, whether we're weeding, whether we're going to the terminal market again to buy more plants. And they give good discounts, just ask them. This simple act of greening has also allowed us to share plants with strangers. Sometimes people are passing through and they're asking us, well, what is that plant? We're like, well, do you want a piece of coleus? So we run inside, we would give it to them, Miss Dean, Pauline, everyone on the block. And just pardon me if I'm calling names because I don't want to leave anyone out. every one of you here played an integral role. This greening has also helped us to repurpose spaces, make requests of our elected officials, we hold them accountable, to improve the environment, and has even worked as the conduit that transforms neighbors into lifelong friends. Greening has also helped us to understand the deeper connections and roles that pollinators, recycling, being a good tree steward, conservation, the temperature, air quality, and human beings have with each other. Lastly, greening has enabled us to put our differences aside and work towards a greater cause for future generations. When an organization such as the esteemed Brooklyn Botanic Garden reinforces that we're on the right path with our greening effort, it makes it even more special. We are humbled by this award, and we express our sincere gratitude to the Brooklyn Botanic Garden and to their partners, some of whom are here, and we've been seeing them for quite some time. We appreciate it. We also are extremely grateful, again, to all of our neighbors, family, and friends. It took hundreds of hours to water, to weed, trees, whatever it is you did, we truly appreciate it. We really look forward to continuing our greening efforts by mentoring other blocks and learning from each other, and to continue along this path of environmental justice. Thanks again to the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, to all of its partners, and happy greening. Thank you for coming.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, East 25th Street. Now, I'm equally delighted to present the award for 2023's Greenest Commercial Block in Brooklyn, which is the Rockaway, created by the Rockaway Parkway Merchant Association. It's Rockaway Parkway between Conklin and Flatlands Avenues in Canarsie. So we're going to reuse the same sign because these are temporary placeholders. I'm going to ask Noreen Metis of the Rockaway Parkway Association to come up to accept the award. Trees.
No one knows it's a placeholder, Adrian. You can just say it's the right
Right.
one.
Well, it says East 25th Street on it.
Good morning. Congrats to East 25th Street. I'm so inspired. Our elected officials. I'm truly humbled to accept this award on behalf of our uniquely different little suburb in the big city of Brooklyn, and I'm speaking about no other place other than Canarsie.
All right, Canarsie.
4 years ago, there was a community organizer who worked tirelessly to get 4 trees on Rockaway Parkway between Conklin and Flatlands Avenue. We have the Conklin Avenue Block Association, Valerie here with us. And in 2021, because we're a young organization, we're only 9 months old, took about 3 years organizing during COVID. And so we decided to host an Earth Day event, and we asked the community, 2021, to write a memory from 2020 and a hope for 2021. They wrote them on yellow ribbons, and we tied them on those 4 trees there on Rockaway Parkway. There are a total of 5 trees along 3 blocks from Flatlands to Farragut Road on Rockaway Parkway. We have multiple bus lines. We have the L train station for 5 trees. When our borough president talks about the heat index, I've planted, our community members, our volunteers have planted under extreme weather conditions. the Brooklyn Botanical Garden and the entire team, you do not know how much this means to us. This is the third time we've entered a competition. The first time during COVID, we won first place prize, and we entered only one block because there is only one tree between Farragut Road and Glenwood. This year, with the help of our community, this is a collective effort. We entered 5 blocks into the competition. The work that we're doing is for our children who we're teaching. We're changing the dynamic of what our children see. We want them to see life growing vibrantly in Canarsie. We want to thank our seniors who have worked tirelessly to allow us the opportunity to be able to live in Canarsie. And I want to close by saying that the collective work, the small steps, the composting, our partners like Grow NYC, like the Lower East Side Ecology, like National Grid, to Assembly Member Monique Chandler Waterman, Assembly Member Jamie Williams, our Senator Roxanne Prasad, our Council Member Mercedes Narcisse, the investment that is being made in Canarsie through the Rockaway Parkway Merchants Corridor Association, which now will be known as the Canarsie Merchants Association, is allowing us to build back better, stronger, but together. Thank you so much.
So,
The fun keeps on going. So now I'd like to ask Renee McClure, who's Director of Community and Customer Management at National Grid. The National Grid is working really hard to go to net zero. It's a very ambitious thing for a power authority to work to go to net zero, but they're working toward that. And they have been a long-time partner in community greening programs for Brooklyn Botanic Garden. They are a real champion to us. So it's my pleasure to ask Renee McClure to come up and speak about this year's National Grid Leadership and Sustainable Practices Award. Renee?
Good morning, Brooklyn.
I'm just gonna put
Are
this
we not on the greenest block in Brooklyn? This is awesome, and we are so excited to be here today. So my name is Renee McClure, as Adrian said, and I just wanted to stop and say it does take a village. It will take a community. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and it's going to take all of us pulling together, our electeds, corporations like National Grid, and especially you, our community. So please, please work with us, ensuring that we can move forward together, because we have decided that no community will be left behind. So it is my pleasure to once again represent National Grid on this day of celebration. Our company has partnered with BBG in support of their programs for numerous years, as Adrian has just mentioned. But one of the most rewarding aspects of our joint community commitment is manifested through the sponsorship of BBG's outstanding community green programs. Can we give them a round of applause for that? And in particular, our involvement in the Greenest Block in Brooklyn contest. So I am thrilled here to congratulate all of the winners, and everyone who entered is a winner. So let's give everyone a round of applause for that. And we'd like to recognize today the winner of the National Grid Leadership in Sustainability Practice Award. Over the years, the winners of this award have been shining examples of best in horticulture and sustainable practices, from the use of sub-irrigated planters, rainwater capture, upcycled found materials for reuse, companion planting, and habitat building materials, and solar energy. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
That's a lot. Selecting a winner is not easy because we had great projects to choose from. However, we used the following judging criteria to select a winner in this category. This includes, but is not limited to, high level of public engagement, practices are visible and educate visitors and passerbyers. Innovation, energy and/or resource savings, ecological sustainability, a high level of collective organizations that serve to build community. So this is a community effort. It has to be a community effort, and so we're so glad to be able to support. And once again, the competition was fierce this year. But please join me in recognizing this year's winner of the National Grid's Leadership and Sustainability Practices Award, the East 26th Street Block Association, East Street between Clarendon Road and Avenue D. Right? As the borough president said, we want to be very specific on who the winner was. Okay. This organization has been a fixture of sustainability and community greening in the Greenest Block in the Brooklyn contest for the past several years. Now, they've taken home a lot of awards, but I'm just going to list some of the ones that I was given. First place residential winner in 2019, second place tree bed winner in 2022, honorable mention distinction in 2022, and of course, a previously National Grid Leadership and Sustainable Practices Award in 2028. So thank you once again for being a repeat winner. As you can tell, the gardeners of East 26 are no strangers to keeping their block green and teeming with native fauna and wildlife. This year, they are being recognized with the National Grid's Award for their pollinator-friendly plantings and colorful birdhouses that go up and down the block. Has everyone had a chance to go around the corner? So please take an opportunity to go around the corner. They're just one block away. East 26th Street has held a consistent role in community greening programs at BBG, which we are proudly supporting. Residents of the block regularly attend How to Green Your Block and Street Tree Stewardship classes, and the Brooklyn Urban Gardeners. Students also help to lay the groundwork for the greening the block. That's BUG, the Brooklyn Urban Gardeners. Congratulations to our winner, the East New York 26 Block Association, and I am so pleased to welcome Jason Walker to accept this award. And once again, on behalf of National Grid and the whole community, thank you, all of you are winners. Thank you.
Here's the official sign.
Here, all right, let's go around the corner.
Step around, step over to the left. Everybody step to the left. Everybody step to the left.
Thank you very much. My name is Jason Walker. I'm the president of the East 26th Street Block Association. We are more than overjoyed to receive this wonderful award. I want to thank Brooklyn Botanical Gardens. I want to thank National Grid. I want to thank all of the political officers who are here to share this moment with us. And I want to say two things. One is as I was growing up, I was often fond of my achievements from my siblings. And so we feel the same way today, having East 25th Street be the #1 winner as we expected them to be. So that's one thing. And the second thing is part of sustainability is because people often want to walk up and down our street, and some people don't necessarily respect the block, and so they leave things on the block. And we've managed to take those things and figure out a way to use them to enhance our greenery. And so although that's a great thing, I would love for us not to be able to do that. But anyway, thank you for this award, and we greatly appreciate it. I do want to mention Ms. Dorothy Nelson, who's in charge of our greenery. She was unable to make it today. But when you walk around the block and you see all this stuff, it is a result of Dorothy's work. So thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you and congratulations. So I'm going to just re-announce the second, third, and fourth place winners, because again, we had 120, and this is in the top 10. A reminder that in second place, Crown Heights Keepers, Eastern Parkway between Bedford and Franklin. Really quite unique because it's not a block of private homes. It's a block of large apartment buildings. They don't have areaways and front yards to work in. So they had to work in the sort of entryways of the apartment buildings and along the curb on a very busy, the busiest street in Brooklyn. A remarkable new role model, I have to say. Remarkable. It blew us away. And it's a 5-minute walk from the garden. But you guys did a great job. Third place tie. The ties don't happen often, but they're both in Bed-Stuy, which no surprise. So we had the Stuyvesant Avenue Block Association, known as SABA. That's on Stuyvesant Avenue between Bainbridge and Chauncey Streets. And then the 200 Decatur Street, Stuyvesant Avenue Block Association, Decatur Street between Lewis and Stuyvesant Avenues. And I just, don't tell anybody, I live in Manhattan. I take the 2-3 train to work. I'm just so jealous. I'm just like, my block doesn't look like these blocks. And so it's a great personal pleasure for me to see what the power of people. The power of people, and just like Manhattan, you got a lot of catching up to do. So those are the third place ties, and finally in fourth place, the Sterling Street B&W Block Association. Oh, there's a drone. It's a peaceful drone, don't worry. And that's Sterling Street between Bedford and Washington Avenues in Lefferts Garden, also right near Botanic Garden. So amazing group of in the top 5 out of the 120 entered. So thank you very much.